Early morning in the plush neighborhood of Asokoro, Abuja, residents witnessed the same baffling scene: a woman draped in flowing Ankara, working with a quiet grace along the sidewalk. Despite owning estates, oil blocks, and stock portfolios that could purchase every car on display in Abuja's luxury showrooms, her name was Madam Teniola Adeleye Adebayo, but most simply called her Madam Tenny. She was in her early 50s, always smiling faintly, yet never drove. Instead, she walked for miles. In a city where wealth screamed from exhaust pipe of Blueproof, G-Wagons and Bentley Bentaygas, Tenny's habit of working baffled many. Rumors spiraled. She's eccentric. They whispered, she's punishing herself for something. She's hiding from someone. What no one knew, what even her domestic staff didn't dare ask, was why the woman who donated 300 million to rebuild IDP school would rather soak in the sun and Abuja's dust than sit behind tinted glass. At every traffic light she passed, drivers slowed down, staring in disbelief. Some offered her rides. She politely declined. "I like the earth under my feet," she do say, with a strange twinkle in her eyes. Journalists tried digging. Social media tried shaming. But she never explained. All she ever told the press was, "Some roads are meant to be walked, not driven." Behind closed doors, her mansion overflowed with luxury: Persian rugs, golden faucets, and original art. Her garage empty, not even a bicycle, just silence and sunlight filtering through glass. The mystery deepened when she declined a luxury car gift from the vice president during a national philanthropy gala. "Thank you, sir, but I do not accept what I cannot feel." Gossip blogs went wild. One claimed she once killed someone in a car accident. Another insisted she was a former madwoman who rose through a secret court. Nobody knew the truth. But the truth was darker, deeper, and far more haunting than anyone dared imagine. On a particular cloudy Thursday morning, Teniola received a brown envelope in her gate mailbox. No name, no address, just a single sentence typed on white paper: "Your legs remembered what your mind forgets." She froze. Her heart skipped. That sentence was from a diary she had hidden for 22 years. The diary of the girl she used to be before money covered her like silk. Back then, she was just Tenny, a 26-year-old orphan, working as a housemaid in the dusty suburb of Kubwa. She had dreams, wild, untamable dreams of being seen, heard, and loved. She worked for the Martins, a couple with wealth, charm, and cruelty. Their son, Dayo, was different. He noticed her. He fed her books, taught her how to use a computer. He made her believe she could be more. One rainy night, they crossed a line: passion, tears, promises. "We will run away to America," Dayo had said. "I've saved up for our escape." But the morning they planned to leave, Tenny waited in the bush behind the gate for hours. Dayo never came. Instead, a black Mercedes came speeding down the street. Inside was Madame Martins, drunk and furious, her words slurred, her eyes bloodshot. She mistook Tenny for a thief. The gateman tried to intervene. She accelerated. Tenny barely leaped away in time, but the gateman, Bashi, wasn't so lucky. The car crushed him. He died instantly. No one ever spoke of it again. That evening, Tenny was dismissed without pay or explanation, but Bashi's eyes, wild and blooded, haunted her dreams for years. So did the Mercedes-crushed girl, the sound of bones breaking, the smell of burnt rubber. She walked home that night, and she kept working, even after she rose to unimaginable heights, because walking reminded her she had once been powerless and never again wanted to ride over anyone's pain. After leaving the Martins' house, Tenny spent night under the pedestrian bridge near Berger. She would walk all day, thinking of how Bashi's family would never know the truth. Then fate spun a new thread. A woman named Auntie Mimi, a widow teacher, saw her begging for bread and took her in. "You remind me of my late daughter," she said. Through Auntie Mimi, Tenny enrolled in evening school. But by the day, she sold orange on the roadside. By night, she studied. It was walking distance to both, and she never stopped working. Tenny excelled, winning a scholarship to study business admin at the University of Abuja. She built a small poultry business on the side, and eventually she grew it into an empire. But every contract she signed, every check she cashed, she walked there. No Ubers, no Okadas. It became a ritual. One year, she built a school in Bashi's village. She paid for every child's uniform, every desk, every book. She laid the foundation herself. But she never revealed the school name until its opening, Bashi Academy for Justice. When journalists asked about the name, she only said, "It's the name of a man who taught me the cost of silence." Underneath the main hall of that school, buried with concrete and prayer, was a small metal tag. "Here lies the name of the man I could have saved." No one ever found it, but she visited once a year, barefoot. The note in the brown envelope began to eat at her. She sent it. Why now? Who else knew? She hadn't spoken of that day to anyone, not even her therapist. She increased her working distance from Asokoro to Wuse, sometimes all the way to Jabi. It was as if movement could outrun memory. But one walk near Muse Market, a young boy ran into her, delivering a letter into her palm and dashing off. Her guards couldn't catch him. Inside the letter, a photo, Dayo, older, richer, but unmistakably him, standing at the opening of a new mega mall in Lagos, married, 3 kids, and beside him, Madam Martins, alive, well, free. Tenny's hand trembled. Something in her cracked. How do murderers go free while silence punishes the innocents? She whispered. The next morning, she walked to a new station, uninvited, no makeup, just the same Ankara and slippers. On live TV, she told it all: the accident, the cover-up, the silence, the guilt, and why she had worked for 22 years. The nation erupted. Madam Martins was arrested. Dayo released a statement denying everything. But the gateman's family, they wept. "Finally, we knew the truth," said Bashi's sister. "God works with the broken." From that day, people no longer stared in confusion when she walked. They stared in relevance. Awards reigned. Global recognition followed. Tenny declined a Nobel Peace Prize nomination, saying, "This isn't about peace. It's about walking through your war until your legs teach the world a lesson." One afternoon, a student at Bashir Academy asked her, "Ma, will you ever drive?" She smiled, knelt to the boy's height, and replied, "I may enter a car one day, but I will never forget the power of my feet." A documentary followed. Footprint of Tenny, the woman who walked through silence. It went viral. Her story became hope for domestic workers, street hawkers, and every girl who had ever been forgotten. One final twist arrived months later. Dayo was arrested for financial fraud. His mother, still awaiting trial, attempted suicide. Tenny sent her a note in prison. Now you know what it means to carry something you can't kill. The court case made headlines for months, but Tenny never attended the session. She chose to work each morning to Bashi's academy instead. On her 55th birthday, she gathered every staff and student at the school. I am no longer walking in grief. I am walking in gratitude, and every step I take, I remember whose blood this ground carries. A standing ovation followed. Parents cried. Even the security guards clapped until their hands stung. When asked if she would ever get a chauffeur now, she chuckled. Maybe one day, but only if he knows how to walk beside me. And so, the billionaire woman continued her journey, not in silence, not in shame, but in the kind of work that makes even the earth remember the weight of justice. Thank you very much for listening to this story. Please, I would want to share something very close to my heart concerning this story. I speak today not as someone who has it all figured out, but as someone who has walked through a few dark valleys, stumbled, gotten up, and along the way learned that you should never judge anyone if you're not in their shoe. Now, I have one more story to tell in order to crown my story up. Years ago, I was in a waiting room at a government hospital. You know the kind of pain peeling, fans creaking, everyone's face carrying a story. Now, I sat next to a woman who looked completely out of place. Her hair was messy, her cloth old and worn out, her eyes swollen from crying. People glanced at her, some even moved away. One woman whispered, "She looks like a mad woman. Maybe she's on drugs." But I couldn't look away, not out of pity, but curiosity, and eventually we spoke. She told me her child had been hit by a car the night before, and the hospital has refused to treat her without a deposit. She had begged in the street, sold her phones, and walked miles barefooted just to come back. That was why she looked the way she did. I felt so ashamed. You see, from the outside, she looked like a mess, but on the inside, she was a mother, a warrior, a symbol of unconditional love. That was the day I promised myself. Never again would I ever judge a soul by their appearance, status, or choices until I knew their story. Because truth be told, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you cannot see. Some wear their pain on their sleeves, others bury it deep beneath smiles and makeup, behind designers' clothes or loud laughters. But it's there, always, behind every silence, every frown, every late arrival, every strange decisions. There is a reason, and more often than not, that reason is pain. We live in a world that is quick to point fingers, quick to label someone lazy, weird, irresponsible, difficult, toxic, without even asking, "What happened to you?" What if the man who always comes late to work is struggling with depression and can barely get out of bed each morning? What if the girl who dressed different in using her clothes as a form of protection, trying to reclaim her identity after abuse? What if the boy who fails every class is hungry, sleeping in a cold room at night, with no one to encourage him? We don't know. That is why judging is dangerous. You are not in their shoes. You haven't felt the blisters on their feet, the weight of their burdens, or the rock they stepped on along the way. You don't know what it feels like to be them. And I know it's human nature. We judge to feel safe, to feel superior, to convince ourselves we are doing okay. But all that does is isolate people. It builds walls where we should be building bridges. It breeds shame where we should be showing compassion. And let me remind you, there was a time you didn't even have it together, a time you messed up, a time someone showed you mercy, a teacher who believed in you when others had given up, a stranger who helped you without asking questions, a friend who stood by you even when you were hard to love. Now it's your turn. Instead of judging, ask. Instead of pointing, listen. Instead of laughing, understand. Instead of mocking, pray. And instead of assuming, imagine. What if that woman who talks too much was ignored all her life and is only now learning to be heard? What if the rude teenager at the store was just lost his dad? What if the quiet man who never smiles is carrying a grief so heavy it silences even his soul? You don't know, you might never know. But your kindness might be the light that brings them out of darkness. Your compassion might be the reason why they choose not to give up. Your non judgment might be the difference between them feeling like a human or a mistake. And listen, this doesn't mean we approve of bad behavior. It doesn't mean we excuse them or harm. But it seems we look deeper. We ask, what led you here? Before we say, you deserve this. Because when you understand someone's pain, you react with wisdom, you discipline with love, you confront with humility, you help with respect. When Jesus met the woman caught in adultery, everyone